top of a factory, but when you think of some of your, projects and things you've done in the past, um, what are some of the projects or initiatives where human and ecological health and wellness was being addressed?
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was also and that question that comes up all the time, "Oh, is it gonna make economic sense?"
Yeah.
So how did the project accrue economic value as it was accruing other values? And pick your project.
Yeah, actually, I think let's start with that factory project. So, as a quick bit of background, started a cleaning products company in 2000. By 2014, it was time to vertically integrate the manufacturing. And we wanted to do that in as much of a holistic way as we could across economy, uh, social, and environmental benefit, create benefit for all three. And so it was a very, you were involved with it. It was a very integrative design concept. And the long story short of the facility itself was first factory of any kind built in the city limits of Chicago in 30 years. Completely renewably powered with utility scale wind and solar. Um, it had the largest rooftop greenhouse in the world on its roof at the time. May still be, I don't know. Producing food on its roof in a food desert, and it employed in a community employed a couple hundred people in a community that had really suffered from a lot of disinvestment from the previous industrial era. And so when we set out to do that project, the goal was honestly to go as big as we could, to try to solve as many of these different problems as you could. Um, and I think we did a really nice job on that. But your question was about the economic benefits that ultimately accrued there. I think so. There are hard ones and there are soft ones. So, vertically integrating our own production removes the middleman and allows us to capture a little bit more of just sort of hard cost margin, right? That's just the basics of vertical integration. And so there was a bit of that. The location was really key for us. So, being in a central location, the city of Chicago is actually the third largest port in the United States. Most people don't know that, but that was really strategic and allowed us to lever down some costs. There were also in the hard cost bucket, there were some advantages of being in Chicago from a freight lane standpoint, aside from just the port. Then there are also a whole host of other benefits that are a little bit harder to quantify, but are very, very real. The We were able to measure the level of absenteeism that our workforce had in that factory. That was long and short, it was about a third as much as what you would normally
Mm.
expect. And there are costs associated with that. When somebody just doesn't show up for work, you got to find some temp labor. That's generally more expensive. You run that water through the pipes. There are very real savings there. Also, the tenure was longer, is longer in that facility. So people stayed with their jobs longer. Part of that was because we were offering some benefits that competitors were not offering from a healthcare standpoint and so forth. And so there's some trade-offs there. But it's an investment that you make, in one sense to create a more motivated, stickier, higher skilled workforce that sort of pays off down the line. So I think in a whole bunch of different ways, and there are other many smaller examples um, here, even in the design of the facility, co-location of bottle production and warehouse and that sort of thing. Um, there are a bunch of different ways, both hard and soft, that the in both the short and the long term economic benefits accrued to the ultimately to the bottom line of the method business because of the integrated sort of design approach that we took at the outset.